Welcome to Catalio Conversations, where we talk to founders and CEOs across innovative healthcare and AI who are building the next generation of disruptors in the space, from drug discovery to autonomous labs to clinical intelligence and beyond. I'm your host, Martha Petrokoulis, and with me today is Tom Miller, the co-founder and CEO of Iambic, a company using AI to design novel drugs faster and more precisely in order to accelerate drug discovery. Tom, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here, Martha.
I want to kick this off by kind of going back to the beginning. So you were a Caltech professor for many, many years, and you published over 140 papers. What was the moment when you realized that making real drugs, not just academia, was where you could have the most impact?
Caltech was an extraordinary place to do science and, continues to be just a wonderful frontier environment for scientific discovery. But I found that in academics, I was telling the first part of a scientific story again and again. And I saw in my own desires as a scientist and as an entrepreneur, the wish to be able to see that translational impact, to not just tell that first chapter, but to take those tools and to actually see them translate to the real world.
When you make that jump from academia all the way into creating your own business, the founding team becomes so very important. And of course, you know that your co-founder, Fred Manby, he's a computational chemist. I wonder, how did that founding partnership really shape the DNA of Iambic?
This entire journey of Iambic and all the way back to its founding is based on my longtime collaboration with Fred. And we had academically collaborated for roughly a decade, and then we co-founded the company and went on sabbatical together and then left our academic positions together.
Is there a moment where your startup instinct and scientist instinct disagree?
We have tried to make integrity a core founding principle of the company. Scientifically, the one thing you can't get back is the trust people have in your science.
Right.
Moving into the entrepreneurial world, we have worked really hard to make that execution and that kind of delivering on the intentions that we have as a company a core principle.
Was there anything that you tried early on at Iambic that didn't work? And I wonder, how did that force you to rethink about how you go ahead and build the business?
Iambic initially was founded on the principle that it would be a software as a service company. We quickly realized if you can actually use these AI tools and these software platform tools to discover better drugs, the best way to really deliver that value is to bet on yourself.
I can only imagine that there's moments when you see a perfect drug molecule, in theory, on the computer model, and then it fails when it gets into the human body because biology or metabolism, selectivity, toxicity, whatever it may be, right? How do you deal with those moments?
Iambic's core platform approach is to not only have best-in-class tools for those design and AI predictions, but to tightly couple that with automated high-throughput experimentation.
I want to understand a little more about how the platform works when it's working the way that you want it to. If someone says to you, okay, Tom, here is a target. This is driving a certain type of cancer. Can you please try to build something to stop it? What happens between that conversation within Iambic's platform and the patient receiving the drug?
The first thing that we try to do is define what we know we need to achieve about the drug. Does it have to get into the brain? Does it have to have selectivity versus some other off target? We try to specify as much as possible the things we know, and we also try to identify the things that we will have to figure out on the journey. And then what we do is very much like turning a crank. We will design novel chemical species, new molecules that should meet everything that we seek to achieve, while also probing those questions that we haven't yet figured out and allowing us to have the data on that to begin to answer that question.
From my understanding, kind of makes each experiment a little more informed. And of course, a key part of the loop is how the drug molecule and the protein interact, right? So let's talk about Neuroplexer, which is the AI model that you built that does exactly that. It predicts how the protein and the molecule will fit together. What problem does that solve that AlphaFold doesn't? And why does that distinction matter when you're making drugs?
Something that you take into clinic, without exaggeration, has to satisfy 40 to 50 properties simultaneously. And you just named one of them. How does it bind to the protein and what is the shape of that binding? At the same time, it's got to get to the right tissue. It has to not clear from the bloodstream. It has to do all these other things that a good drug has to do, each of which is a design challenge. Neuroplexer allows us to predict where a molecule is going to bind, how it's going to engage the protein, what it's going to do to the protein when it binds, and the strength of that. And that's critical for early parts of the discovery. But it's just one tool in our overall arsenal where we are predicting for both early discovery and even into clinical properties that will dictate the ultimate success.
It sounds like AlphaFold is answering what type of shape does the protein have and what is the protein structure, whereas Neuroplexer, which is your AI model, is answering, great, now how does the drug actually engage the protein, which to your point is what really matters when you're making drugs. Have you found that certain data matters more?
Absolutely. And it depends on the situation that you're in. As I mentioned earlier, there's 50 different properties, say, that you have to get right to take a molecule into clinic. Some of those relate to properties that will be important for one program or for another program.
Knowing how the protein and the molecule will interact is not just a nice to have. It's basically what predicts, and I want to know if you agree, whether the drug is even going to be successful or whether it's even going to be developable.
It's table stakes where it gets you on the first step of a very tall pyramid and you got to climb the rest of it. The entire Iambic platform is about getting to the top of that pyramid as opposed to just off that first step.
I love this. Let's speak about IAM 1363, which is your lead cancer drug designed to block the protein that drives certain breast and lung cancers. This went from first concept to being approved by the FDA for human trials in under 2 years. That is extraordinarily fast in drug development. I wonder what exactly about how Iambic works made that possible, and what do you think would have taken a traditional team longer?
Typically from the first start of a program to getting into clinic takes 6 years. With IM 1363, we got into clinic in less than 2 years. Within the first few months, we had identified the lead series. Within 7 months, we had found what would become the crest of the wave, our clinical molecule, having that succeed rapidly through all of the FDA requirements to get into clinic.
This is probably where people outside of the industry start to understand why AI in drug discovery matters. Like, it really changes patients' timelines, right? It's not just internal efficiency.
Actually showing that a platform can make medicines is a must. And it's something that Iambic has really stood alone on in terms of being able to show that. The advanced data that we've created with IM 1363, which was discovered using our platform, is a high watermark for the field in terms of that validation and demonstration.
Was there anything about this whole process that surprised even you?
Drug discovery, as you pointed out, is filled with just biological and human and, regulatory complexity that is very hard to know from the beginning. Building platforms that aren't just single point solutions, that don't just fix, say, that binding problem, but which can flexibly help you navigate the dozens of things that will inevitably come up, but which you can't say on day one in a program, is what a successful platform should do.
And that's what Iambic does.
Yeah.
Now you've really proven that your platform can produce real assets. You have partnered with Lundbeck in relation to brain diseases, and you've also partnered with Revolution Medicines, and you're giving them platform access. And that is all whilst you're developing your own oncology pipeline. What does a good partnership look like?
Our recognition at Iambic is by making our own drugs, like IM 1363 and the additional programs that we're taking into clinic, we show the partner not just an exciting PowerPoint slide, but the real things that can come off the platform.
Right. So the platform is not abstract. They can see what it creates.
Exactly. The medicines are the proof of the platform. That's exactly right. When we work with a partner, we seek to work with teams equally focused on the resulting medicines being the proof of the success of the partnership. In some situations, they just say, hey, please make us a medicine for this target. And then we go off and do that and provide that to them. In other situations, we might share some of our technology for their internal discovery. And I think that's more along the lines of your question. The really important thing is to make it a pull mechanism for the partner.
Every major pharma company now has an AI strategy. How do we differentiate between those companies that are genuinely transforming AI drug discovery from those that are just kind of putting AI branding on legacy processes?
The resulting molecules are the validation of the platform. There are just many ways for AI to be incorporated across pharma companies, but in terms of creating the platforms that can not only have best-in-class AI predictions, but to convert that in a superintelligence framework to new data at scale and at pace is the game-changing opportunity for a company like Iambic. In a typical program, we'll be making AI-designed experiments at a pace of 50 times faster than a typical pharma program would be doing.
Do you think large pharma companies have an advantage because of scale and data, or do you think they have a disadvantage because of complexity?
There are large data sources out there, and pharma has those. But what we have seen across the industry, once you train on all the available data that exists, either publicly or in your own data set, you immediately become bottlenecked for your new discovery. Really being able to create on-demand data at scale in a program-specific way is a major differentiator.
The biggest critique around AI is, of course, it's great in designing drug molecules, but then biology always surprises you in the lab, like we talked about. What do you think AI's limits genuinely still are when it comes to drug development?
That critique comes from platforms that would be solving one step in the discovery process. It's really important to be able to design molecules that will not only succeed in getting to clinic, but succeeding in getting through clinic. And that's why the Iambic demonstrations with IM 1363 and with our additional coming clinical programs is that we can holistically design molecules that navigate those unknown biological variables, unknown human variables in ways that can succeed to and through clinic so they actually get to patients in an approval way.
So you think it's the fact that Iambic is doing the process from beginning to end, unlike those other companies. I wonder, do you think there's anything that will stay kind of stubbornly empirical for the next few years still?
One of the interesting things about AI methods at scale, they don't have the sort of explainability in many cases as a more simple model would. But there's definitely empiricism in why it is proposing this approach or that approach. I do think that AI is the right framework for dealing with noisy and uncertain multimodal data.
So it's not removing all risk, it's removing where the risk is and how much it is. It's just better odds earlier.
Better odds at each individual step, correctly grappling with later stage risks.
Yes.
When you can still make decisions early on to avoid those risks.
I want to finish off with an identity question for Iambic. Is Iambic an AI platform company that's building drugs, or is it a drug company that's using AI? Or is it both? Or does it matter in how you build the company and how you think about kind of advancing your platform versus building your own pipeline?
We see ourselves as building a new kind of company. We see ourselves acting with the urgency of a tech company and with the willing to innovate of a tech company, but with the seriousness and maturity of execution of a pharma company in terms of the actual drug development.
What would you want to see in the next few years to make you feel like Iambic has truly changed the industry?
We are going to be looking forward to programs that advance to FDA approval that were discovered on the basis of this platform. We're going to be seeing that happening on a repeat basis, both in our own hands with wholly owned assets and in partnerships like with Lundbeck and with Takeda and with many others.
I have a few quick fires. So let's go. One myth about AI drug discovery that you'd like to kill in one sentence.
That AI is magic. It's not magic. It's great data science combined with great decision making.
One target class that you think AI will crack in the next 5 years that the industry has written off as undruggable.
I think transcription factors will be a really natural one.
One thing about how pharma operates today that makes you think there has to be a better way.
Converting AI designs into biological data at scale and at pace is the critical thing.
Tom, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm a personal fan of your work. I think what you're building is incredible. I really do. And I think what's so exciting about Iambic is not just the AI platform that you're building, but the fact you've designed a drug with it. This is the proof, like we've spoken about. And in under 2 years, which is faster than anyone thought possible, it's in human trials. That's very, very promising for the future of drug development. So thank you. And thank you all for tuning into Catalio Conversations. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, share, like, and comment, and please stay with us for more conversations with founders and CEOs who are shaping the future of innovative healthcare and AI. See you next time.